One of the when I give my message to the kids, one of the things that I often bring up is how divisive American politics is right now. Okay, and it's like I always talk about, you know, we adults in America, you know, if one side says, you know, the sky is all sunny and blue today, the other side is going to say, no, it's cloudy and stormy. And there's just really no common ground in American politics right now. And yet, despite all this divisiveness and conflict, just this past Wednesday, our Supreme Court, United States Supreme Court, issued a really important decision. Anybody know it? I was thinking Josephine would know. She was here. Okay. So there was a decision. Every Supreme Court justice on there agreed. You know, and that's pretty remarkable considering who's up there. You know, Justice Thomas didn't actually agree with the main decision, but he wrote a concurring one where he said the conclusion was right, just the way you got about it was wrong. But everyone else agreed on the conclusion. And what was this case? This case was called Timms versus Indiana. Okay? I don't know if you can read that. Timms versus Indiana. Timms was a drug dealer in Indiana. He got caught and he got sentenced to 1 year of home detention, 5 years of probation, court-supervised addiction treatment, and $1,200 in fees. So, you know, based on that, it doesn't sound like he was like some major kingpin, right? It's like, okay, he got caught dealing, and he just got a little bit of a slap, but, you know, it's enough to feel it. But after he was convicted, after all this happened, the state of Indiana, and now, first of all, this crime that he was convicted of, the maximum fine is $10,000. And, you know, the fee was $1,200, so it wasn't even close to the top. That's okay. And so, after this all conviction happened, the state then tried to take his car, his Land Rover, $42,000. He didn't buy this car using drug money. He purchased it using money from his father's life insurance when his father passed away. The state of Indiana was saying, hey, he was using this car to deal drugs, so now we get to keep it. It's a $42,000 car. And so he sued. He said, no, that's wrong. You can't do that. You can't take my car. The maximum thing is $10,000. You're taking my $40,000 car. And to make it, you know, make a long story short, he fought it and went to the Supreme Court of Indiana. They said, yeah, Indiana can do that. And it went to the United States. And the whole fight was over, you guys know the 8th Amendment to the Constitution? That's it. That's the whole thing. Excessive bail should not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted. And Indiana said, yeah, okay, that's good, but that only applies to the federal government, not to states. We can take whatever we want, you can't do anything about it, 8th Amendment doesn't touch us. Tim's attorney said, no, this is for everyone. And every justice agreed, saying, hey, Indiana, you're wrong. Every state, this applies to the states, this applies to the counties, cities, everything. You guys are all subject, you can't do that. So why am I talking about this here? This is not a constitutional law class. So why am I bringing this up? So I was thinking, it's become so obvious, so clear, something was so wrong that every Supreme Court justice agreed. You know, the conservatives, the liberals, everyone, they all agreed Indiana was wrong. And I want to say, I want to take that one step further. Say Indiana was also wrong when their Pacers traded Paul George to the Thunder instead of the Lakers. Okay? By association, Indiana is wrong there too. We sure could use it right now. Okay. That is one point for that. Okay. And Yujo really didn't want me to do this. I told her I was going to do this. She's like, okay. I have a point. I do have a point about bringing up the Lakers. Okay. The reason I bring up the Lakers, now this is where I'm really sincerely talking. Okay. They have 23 games left this season, right? For those of you guys who paid attention, they have to move up 2 spots to make it to the playoffs. And really, if they want to make it past the first round, they need to move up 3 spots. Because otherwise, it's the Warriors. There's no way, right? So they really have to pretty much be perfect from here on out. Now, a lot of attention has been placed on the young guys on the team. Because they know LeBron's used to this, and they know, you know, this whole pressure thing is not really big for him, but These kids, they're not tested, they're not proven. And we don't know how are they going to respond to the pressure. You know, they were almost traded, all this pressure, got to be good, Russ. And even last night, when I'm losing to the Pelicans, when they know deep down inside, the better I play, the more they're kind of saying, hey, trade me, right? Especially to that team. This pressure to be perfect, the pressure to be better than you normally are, you know, it happens in real life. And I imagine for the people who were there when Jesus began the Sermon on the Mount. Now, if you were in part of this crowd that was listening when Jesus began this sermon, I imagine there would have been a lot of kind of introspection, a lot of, geez, I don't know about how I'm doing with this. So let's take a look. When Jesus saw the crowds, he went up on a mountainside. Am I sitting down? Okay. And sat down. His disciples came to him and he began to teach them. So we're all in this crowd, okay? Jesus goes up and he begins to teach them. And think about how you respond if you're really being honest with yourself. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Okay. And blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Now, for those of you who are familiar with coding on computers and stuff, this sounds like a bunch of if-then statements, right? Right? Yeah. You know, it's if this, then this, right? So here's the list of ifs, all right? If you are poor in spirit, if you mourn, if you are meek, if you hunger and thirst for righteousness, if you are merciful, if you are pure in heart, if you are peacemakers, if you are persecuted. And then you get to the good part, right? The thens. Then you get the kingdom of heaven. Then you're comforted, you inherit the earth, you will be filled, you'll be shown mercy, you get to see God, you get to be children of God. Now, if I'm in this crowd when Jesus is saying this, that list of thens, that's a nice list. I want that. I would like to be comforted. I would like to inherit the earth. I would love to see God and be called a child of God. So sign me up. But then I look back at this list, and if I'm being honest, I don't want to be poor in spirit. I don't want to be poor in any way. You know? I don't want to mourn. When do you mourn? Do you mourn when someone close to you dies? I don't want to do that. You know, I don't want someone that I care about to die. You know, I don't want to be meek. I can convince myself not to chase greatness, but in the regular season of worldly accomplishments, I'm not tanking it either. You know, I don't want to tank the season. You know, I don't have to win it. I don't want to be last. I'm not trying to drive first next season. And, you know, I can claim that I hunger and thirst for righteousness, but it would be easy for someone to argue that I'm just rationalizing a desire to just punish the people who annoy me. You know, it's not really the same thing. And there are occasions where I have shown mercy, maybe. I don't think my forgiveness to vengeance ratio is high enough to be considered merciful. And, you know, pure in heart, I'm just going to leave that one alone. I'm not pure in heart. Peacemakers, you know, I have a coworker who seems to really take delight in watching office conflicts occur and drama, and has a real knack for passing on information to me that this person knows will get on my nerves and will agitate me. And so with this person, I'm always really careful not to say anything about anyone else because I know it'll get passed on. So it's like, okay, so I don't think I'm a rabble-rouser like this person, but I don't think I have a track record of mending relationships and being a peacemaker. And then finally, the persecution of righteousness, or because of righteousness. I've faced some persecution in my life. Some of it, you know, because of race maybe, some of it because I'm annoying, some of it because I started junior high with a perm. My first day of junior high with a perm. But I can't really recall an instance in which I was persecuted because of righteousness. You know, arguments maybe, but not righteousness. You know, so really I've got none of those items nailed. So maybe for you, maybe you can find, you know, some of them, you know, but anybody here feel like they got this list nailed down? Or like 3 of them? Or 1 of them? Yeah? Okay. Because, I could be a nice guy, but that's not on the list, right? Devoted father, maybe, not on the list. Fairly, somewhat faithful to my exercise regimen, not on the list. I'm good at standardized tests to make up for my bad grades, not on the list. Regularly attending and serving at my church, not on the list. Now, to further put this list out of reach, Jesus said this: be perfect, therefore as your heavenly Father is perfect. Okay? We don't need to discuss whether I got that one. Okay? And I love you, but you guys don't have it either. I love you guys here. Amen. We don't have it. So what do? Do we give up on this hope of everything on that list? Do we give up on that and say, can't reach that? That's a 12-foot rim. All right? No, I'm not reaching that. We're, seeing God, being a child of God. That list is too hard. We can't do that list. So, but who do we know that does check off those things? Who has humbled himself to becoming a servant, who wept at the pain of others, who has shown mercy to those undeserving of it, and who suffered a most horrible death because of righteousness. Who is the one who checks all of these, the hardest one off, being perfect? I'm on the right. Okay, I am on the right side. Jesus Christ. But what does that mean for us? How does that help us that Jesus Christ accomplished all these things? So this is what Apostle Paul said. I have been crucified with Christ, and I no longer live, but Christ lives in me. The life I now live in the body, I live by faith in the Son of God, who loved me and gave himself for me. I do not set aside the grace of God, for if righteousness could be gained through the law, Christ died for nothing. So Apostle Paul says Jesus Christ lives in him. He lives by faith in Jesus Christ, and that through his faith, he has accomplished the righteousness that he could not gain himself through the law. As believers in Jesus Christ as our Savior, Jesus Christ lives in us, and we gain this righteousness. All these things that Jesus said we need to be, and which he ultimately summarized by saying, be perfect. Jesus accomplished these things, and through him, we have also accomplished these things. We get to be called children of God. We get to receive the kingdom of heaven. We get to be the heirs of God. So, it is for freedom that Christ has set us free. Stand firm, then, and do not let yourselves be burdened again by a yoke of slavery. It's still easy to fall into this trap of losing our sense of worth because of our failures, because of our missteps, because of our mistakes, because of our flaws. I have so many bad habits that I'm afraid that I passed on to my boys, that I actually compliment them for not taking after me. It's like, what does that say about how I see it? How I see myself? If I say, good job for not being like me. Jesus Christ has done not just the heavy lifting, he has done all of the lifting. We don't need to muster out 18 wins out of the last 23 games in order for our lives to have meaning. The Lakers do, we don't. Okay? They have to get those 18 wins. We are free to enjoy the gift that God has given us. We are free to love God and to love our neighbors and to keep on going when we make mistakes, when we make the wrong choice, and when we fail. We are free to write poetry at 1 a.m. We are free to keep on doing what we're doing. And through Jesus Christ, we have everything that we need for all of eternity. And we need to recognize that, embrace that, and love that, and thank God for that. To end this, is it early? Okay. With the kids, we usually end with a prayer that we all say together. So can we all say this prayer together? Okay. Am I there? Did I skip it? Okay. Dear God, thank you for being perfect and good. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for your Son, Jesus Christ, who died for me, who lives in me, so that I can be free. Help me to remember your gift, to appreciate your gift, and to share